I'm no longer allowed to be within 500 feet of them. No first, second, or third party contact. A restraining order.
You have a restraining order?
No, they have one against me.
What?
Because I mean, the cameras, everything, like I said earlier, I mentioned the cameras they set up everywhere.
Yeah.
The threats I make against my stepmom. They weren't threats. I was gonna kill her.
Okay.
I was gonna fucking kill her. I hated that woman. I hated being in that house. And it was to the point I was ready to do whatever it took to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Oh, it was miserable there. Oh my god.
Damn. What age did they get a restraining order? Is it when
18.
you turn 18?
It went into effect the day I turned 18.
So just right when you turned 18, it was like...
Yeah, bye-bye, yeah. Well, no, my dad and I had a moment in the motel lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that day. It's one of the most important days of my life. Not best. God, one of the worst days of my life. But one of the most important experiences I've ever had was with my dad that day. That night. I remember my stepmom was in the van honking the horn saying, Adam, hurry the fuck up, because he had to help me get my bags in. And then finally he looks at me and he's like, I need to go. I was like, I know. And he looked at me and he's like, I love you, Rhiannon. And I was like, I wasn't ready to tell him I loved him too, because I don't know, I was a really petty, like indignant kind of like, what's the word, just kid who wasn't ready to admit my wrongdoings in that sense and say that, because it would mean I was admitting that I had some part in the downfall of our relationship. Yeah. So I remember I looked at him, and he hadn't gotten joint custody until we were 3. I said, thanks for the last 15 years, Dad. And then he grabs me and he hugs me, and then I hear him start crying, and then I start crying, and then he pushes off, and he said, good luck, be safe, I love you. And I said, thanks, Dad. And then he walks out, and that was the last time I ever really saw my dad, and he knew I was there.
Yeah.
Last time I really actually ever saw my dad.
You ever talk to him again?
I can't, legally.
Legally, okay.
The order's still in effect. He just renewed it last year.
Would you want to talk to him again?
Absolutely.
What would you say to him?
I would tell him I'm sorry.
I know, like, you're saying good things about your dad, so it's low-key kind of, what's the word? I'm low-key being a jackass bringing this up, but when you started, you said your dad was abusive to you too.
Not in a way that he wanted to be, though. He was following the orders from his wife, because he was scared. He's scared to do anything she doesn't want him to do or go against her, because he's scared she's gonna leave, because he knows that he doesn't have any time to find anybody else, and he knows that since he's stuck with her, so I guess he'd rather be miserable with somebody than miserable and alone. That's just heartbreaking. Because my dad's a good person. He deserved a lot better. He deserves a good person to be with him.
Yeah.